But before we do that, I thought I might just take a step back to find out if you know anything about Malaysia and anything about the mentoring project. So I'm going to just ask you some very quick questions. These are not on the worksheet. You can collaborate or you can do this on your own. All right. And, if I don't know the answers, my Malaysian colleagues over here might. All right. So you just have to have a think. You can jot the answer down. You can tell somebody who's sitting next to you. So first of all, the first question is, what's the population of Malaysia? Okay. What's the population of Malaysia? There's 5 questions here. All right. What is the population of Malaysia? Okay. It's a lot smaller than India. There's a clue. And the second question is, how many English language teachers do you think there are in Malaysia? Okay, you can write that down. How many English language teachers? I hope I know the answer to this, otherwise it'd be very embarrassing. How many English language teachers are there in Malaysia? Okay. This is a really easy one. Okay, number 3 is very easy. Pardon? Pardon? Okay, great, thank you. Okay, going to do the answers in a minute, but number 3, what's the climate of Malaysia? What's the climate? Okay, have a think about that. Now, the project that I'm going to talk about is in a certain part of Malaysia that we call East Malaysia. And in East Malaysia, which is on the island of Borneo, there are 2 states that we're working in. Can you write down the name of the 2 states that we're working in East Malaysia? And I'll give you a clue. I've got 2 11-year-olds and they love clues. They both begin with the letter S. Is the mic working? Yes? Okay. Okay, and the last question is, I just want you to think about, what do you think the schools are like in East Malaysia? What are they like? Can you picture them in your head? So I want you to just sort of jot down some words that you might think about when you're thinking about the teaching environment in East Malaysia, where this project is set. Okay, so who wants to kick off? What's the population of Malaysia? 6 million? No, not 6 million. 30 million, that's quite close. Is it 24 million? Okay, so if you've got between 20 and 30 million, you're just about there. 24 million people in Malaysia. How many English language teachers are there, do you think? Any guesses? A lot less than that. I heard 70,000. Is that about right? Yes. Okay, around 70,000. So 70,000 English language teachers. Okay. What are the names of the 2 states that we're working in that begin with S? Sabah and Sarawak. Has anybody been to Sabah and Sarawak? Put your hand up if you've visited Sabah and Sarawak. Okay, they're beautiful, beautiful places. What's the climate like there? It's a tropical climate. It's really hot. In fact, I thought it was going to be really hot here in Hyderabad, but it's beautiful. It's just nice and warm, but it's not humid. In Malaysia, it's really humid. And the last question, well, there's actually one more coming, but the last one that I asked you is, just tell me some words. What do you think the teaching environment or the mentoring environment is like? What are the schools like in Sabah and Sarawak? Can you give me some adjectives to describe the schools? Traditional? Pardon? Semi-rural and very rural. Pardon? Teacher-centric. Low resources, yes. Sometimes you have to swim or take a boat to get to the schools. Yeah, sometimes you have to trek through the jungle to get to the schools. Okay, when you see the video, you will see just how remote some of the schools are in East Malaysia. And just one last question for you to think about, and I'll come back to this at the end, is I want you to think about, why did this mentoring project come about? Why did the mentoring project come about? Why was it mentoring? Why was it in East Malaysia? But I'll come back to that after the video. Okay, so we've just had a think then about the context for the mentoring project in East Malaysia. And just before we have a look at the video, I want you to have a look at your worksheet, because what I want you to think about is, what do you want to learn about the mentoring project whilst you're here this afternoon? And there's a little space at the top that says, what do you already know about the project? Well, you know a little bit from the activity that we've just done, from the questions and answers. But if you've heard of anything else about this project, could you just jot it down in the space? And then just read the questions in the 4 boxes that you've got on your worksheets, just so that you're aware of the things that you're going to look for when you're watching the video. So I'm just going to give you 2 minutes just to write down, do you already know something about the project? And to read the questions in the boxes. And then I'm going to show the video. And if you can just think about, is there one other really burning question that you have at this stage about the mentoring project? So if you write that down as well, and then whilst you're watching the video, you'll be able to see whether the answer is there or whether you're going to ask that a little bit later on in the presentation. Okay, now the video is 21 minutes long, and I kind of thought about, should I show it all or should I just show some of it? But it's really good. It's a really, really good video, and it's the best way for you to find out about this mentoring project. So I'm actually going to show it all, okay? But as you're watching it, think about those 4 areas in the table, and you can just jot down things that you learn whilst you're watching, okay? Right, I think we're ready to play. Could we just have the lights down a little bit, please? There should be some sound. Hang on a minute, I'm just going to take it back to the beginning because there's no sound. Okay, I'm just going to take it back to the beginning.
Each mentor is working with 5 schools, and across their 5 schools, they're mentoring 10 core teachers. As we said before, mentors are encouraged to work with many more people than that.
The 4 project objectives that we've got are improving teaching and learning, improving language proficiency,
development, primarily through involving as many stakeholders, as many people around the core teachers as we can.
Literacy drive, but with speaking before literacy, so a big focus on communication. We weren't going to jump in straight away with mentors showing teachers how it's done or training teachers and delivering programs. And we gave a very, very long, it was called phase 1. I think for the first group it was 10 weeks.
It's really, really important that they understand the actual school, the culture of the school, the local community, and the teachers whom they're going to be working with. So there's a lot of talking with people, gathering data, and understanding that local setting.
I would call this a stranger at the doorstep. That's my punchline for this program when it first started. Because like the mentors were strangers to us and we were strangers to them. Also for our teachers, because all this while they were quite used to this continuous professional development where you'd have someone stand in front and speak to like 100 teachers and tell them, okay, this is what you can do for language arts, this is what you can do for listening and speaking, and that's it. Nobody was like listening to them to say that, look here, in my classroom, I've got students with diverse abilities, and how do I handle that? Many a times it wasn't a problem of proficiency as well. It was other issues, classroom management, getting the right, giving the right dosage for children to develop. Because I think the teachers have got lots of experience, lots of knowledge with them, but to actually apply it to different contexts and situations, that was the challenge.
You didn't want perfect.
Yes, I don't want anything perfect. I just want them to give and to try, to show an effort.
And that's worked, so they're writing well.
Since the teachers themselves are the centre of this project and the approach of this project, the relationship between teacher and mentor has, it's paramount. And that's why this phase 1, this early period of non-intervention, getting to know the culture and the needs and the context is so important.
And the key is as well that we know nothing about Malaysian primary schools. These teachers do. So we're not. They are the experts in their area. They know about the context that they're working in, so it has to be an equal relationship where they're learning and developing together as well.
She built up a good relationship with us. She made sure that we feel comfortable. She made sure that we know and we understand that she's coming here not to change you, not to teach you that it is good. No, you are doing what are you doing now? Oh, that is bad. No, she never said like that. But then she will say, do you have any good idea? Do you have any other ideas how to improve that?
Getting the teachers to take what they're already doing and try to develop what they're doing rather than importing some new system or some new way of thinking. It's kind of try to take what they've got, get the teachers to find out what they perceive as the problems with that, develop those things. So it evolves rather than, it's more of an evolution than a revolution. And then it's important not to impose an idea. It would be easy to come here and say, yeah, this is how you do it, this is wrong, this is how you should be doing it. But it wouldn't be successful and it wouldn't be felt, it wouldn't be understood, and it would be possibly quite damaging.
You can give a set of lessons, but when things change a couple of years down the line, the teacher hasn't really developed this ability to change with that. They'll wait for the new specialist to come in and tell them what to do. So hopefully this approach, where you're not just training them, it's getting them to become more adaptable.
Of course, initially, like what we always say, some of them were like reluctant. It's like an inspector coming to check on me. But later when we actually convinced them that, you need to have very important, rich engagement talk to the mentor. So what if he's somebody who's come with experience and knowledge? You have more experience and knowledge because you are serving in that particular context. They are not.
There were already rumors of Orang Putih coming here and teaching us. That's what I thought at first, teaching. And I thought to myself, why would anyone come here and teach me? I already have all the knowledge that I need. And found out after a few weeks that I was so wrong.
With my eyes.
The program brings or develop their courage, their confidence to actually develop more teaching practices, teaching ideas. I think this program has unleashed out the creativity that they have all this time in them.
Tongue. Okay.
Going through this project and getting new ideas, I found that if I use my body a lot, use body language a lot, they would be interested. Kids, they like to move around a lot. Yeah, that's why I changed my way of teaching.
What else do we need? We have the eyes. What? The mouth. Okay. Which one? Which one do you want?
They're so used to me talking almost 100% English in every lesson that I teach, and that's thanks to my mentor. Now you're seeing the results. They understand what I'm saying.
I don't know. It's you. Is it you? No, it's not me. It's not you.
Trying something new, what if you don't do it quite right and it doesn't work and then you get blamed, if you don't get it perfectly the first time. I think that's been a big thing for him as well, is that he's so much more reflective that we'll go into a lesson, he'll try out something new, and when we come out afterwards, he's not just saying, well, that was terrible, the children couldn't do it. 90% of the children didn't achieve it. They weren't taking part. Now he's coming out and he's saying, well, I think I should have maybe changed the instructions a little bit. I should have done this, I should have done that. But maybe next time it'll work. Without me sort of saying, but what could you have done? He's just coming and doing that automatically.
There are really strong relationships that have been built between mentors and mentees, between Ministry of Education officials and ourselves. We've got a huge number of stakeholders, really.
If you want teachers to be more exploratory and creative, and then you've got to create the conditions where that's possible. And I guess the leadership in this system is very important, particularly head teachers, I think, because the working conditions directly will be controlled by the heads.
The teacher will implement everything for the teaching and learning. So I need the support from the GB, because when the GB say one word, it's better than I say 10 words.
Kita telah berjaya melakukan berbagai pengisian di bawah program penutur jati ini. Yang antara impaknya ialah
you have schools where the whole school is involved, the GB, the PKs, other English language teachers. And you have other schools where the mentor goes in and just works with their mentees. But the ones where you get wider engagement tend to be the ones where you get a lot of positive stories and you get a lot of progress.
I think one of the biggest recommendations we already made as mentors is that look at the next levels, because that's where, if it comes from the top, it'll work with the bottom.
School like our school here, native schools, where mother tongue is not in English. So that's why we give a full support to our mentor here to implement this one in the school. To all our education minister like this program to be started in a lot of schools.
I think it comes always from the head down in the school. And here, the head is willing to listen to his teachers and their ideas, and teachers seem to be willing to share with each other and not feel that. I think here it is kind of like people don't want to be seen to be proud.
Asian culture, we are confident, but we don't show. We are not allowed to show off, to share things, to show off our skills or our knowledge, because we are asked in our norms is to we are asked to be humble. See, so because of that, I think the teachers they have the ability, but they don't really share that ability to others, to show that ability to others. And through this program, it creates opportunity for them to share, to show that they can do it, to prove that they can do things that actually within their limits, and it builds confidence.
I think one of the really good things about the project approach is it hasn't been coming in and pushing and pushing and pushing. It's been a case of working together, hand in hand, embedded, and finding out, helping the teachers find their own solutions. And when they start to find these and start to see improvements, you can see a self-realisation with a lot of the teachers, and that can be teacher that started off very negative about the project. Oh, it's just another initiative from KL that's going to work in a KL school, but it's just completely unsuitable here. But it's turned around because of the approach of the mentor, and that's spread to the school.
It's important for any walk of life, isn't it? Reflecting on what you're doing, getting feedback from others. Not just acting in a routine way all the way, thinking that what you're doing is right because it's what you do, but stopping to take stock.
I think a lot of teachers, when they leave teacher training, the teacher training institutes, they actually have quite a good background and quite a good understanding of communicative methodologies, and they're used to trying things out, and they've heard a lot about how to teach, and they've maybe tried and experimented with some successes. But then when they come into the schools, I think sometimes there's an expectation that some of those communicative methodologies are maybe very loud, very noisy, very difficult to control. So the teachers often tend to resort to the easiest and the most straightforward ways of teaching, which often can be very direct methods, and sometimes methods where the children just aren't really learning anything, like drilling off the board, where the teacher lead to better results, will that lead to changes, will the kids like English more? So those kind of questions, hopefully when they're asking those and they're experimenting with those, that's where they start to see the changes happening in themselves, but also in the children.
I am doing a research project. It's about conducive, language-rich environment and its impact on a classroom, whereby how a student can speak or learn the language better in an environment which is full of the targeted language. In my case, it's English. So I made a plan together with my mentor, thank you very much, plan with her on how to deal with the problem, and we made things happen where we observed the students, we read other research on this topic and everything, and after much discussion we made a few changes to the plans, and finally I think it worked out, as I'll tell you later, how my students progressed. I would like you to, based on the picture you have in front of you, plan an environment. How do you make it a language-rich environment?
Topics maybe, then projects instead of descriptions of the animal.
There seems to be quite a lot of pictures, but not so much language in this part of the picture.
I flooded the classroom with materials in English, whereby it was interactive, wall displays, games like Scrabble and everything, books, posters. So when I'm not in the class, everything around them is in English. See? So that's my research, the impact of it.
Oh, mau masa depan yang cerah macam dorang ada kerjaya kan? Boleh macam jadi doktor. Ya.
The teachers in the school have been, on the whole, making a judgment here, a little reluctant and uncertain about how much involvement parents can have in the school.
We don't want to work with parents. We are afraid of them, they're also afraid of us. We don't want to get involved with parents. Parents in Malaysia, they are not so supportive. On that time, we feel like that. But then, gradually, when we introduced an English family workshop, when we introduced the homework signing project, then we could see that actually parents want to work with us. It's just that they don't know how. And then we are not open to them.
Often teachers have a quite pessimistic view about the extent to which parents want to get involved. And I think on this project, over and over again, we've had an experience where we've talked to teachers. They're enthusiastic about working with parents, but often they'll say, oh, you know, I think we'll get maybe 6 will turn up, or maybe a dozen. And then on the day, when the teachers are actually running the workshop with parents, we've had 70 or 80 parents turn up, and people running around trying to find chairs for parents.
In order to help our children in their education, in their learning, we should not only not only the teachers, the parents also have
with this project.
Play their role.
Parents know that they need teachers, and teachers know that they need parents. And with the help of the school management, what I mean is, if the school management is supportive, this will becoming what we call a reality.
Children learn best when they know their parents really value education and can support them. They don't have to have the answers, but if parents really demonstrate that support for their children in learning and they value education, their children will do better.
We said from the start we're not going to be one of these projects where there's no trace of the effects of that project 5 years after the project's finished. So there hasn't been anything sustained. And we said, no, that's going to be a key determiner of what we do, is whether it's sustainable or it'll lead to sustainability.
How can we sustain this program? Who's going to help to sustain this program? I feel that the sustainability has to come from the school itself, the teachers themselves, with the support from their head teachers, from the teacher assistants, the senior assistants, and also the panel and the staffs in general in the school.
Our approach to teacher development has been mentee-led. You know, the teacher is the centre of the development. It's not imposed or transferred from an expert to a learner, the teacher-learner, but it's helping the teacher themselves to identify what their needs might be, what their interests are, and how they themselves can investigate that and adapt that and change that and reflect on, you know, if things are getting better. Just that entire approach to teacher development is something that, you know, after 2 years working closely with a mentor, you no longer need a mentor.
To kind of internalize your own values. If you realize it's not working and you're doing something about it, that's a pretty powerful step to make, and it's not a particularly easy one. So it's fantastic when the teachers do that, and I think that's when you can see the biggest changes as well, because the motivation is very internal for that kind of process. So they're invested in it as soon as they've realized that what they're doing isn't necessarily the best, and they experiment, you start to see changes and the motivation to continue changing because they can see improvements, and it was all started because of their own reflection on a problem that they felt they had.
So I'm trying to take myself out of the picture more and have the teachers run the workshops and run meetings and bring in their own ideas and their own experiences, because it's really about them in the end.
There are many other mentees out there. Us having these cluster meetings really helped us to get together and have new ideas, and that's why I'm not that worried if she eventually goes, because she's already prepped us for a departure. So Yeah, we're quite ready for it. I mean, we have more than enough to carry on. Yeah, she gave us so much.
Okay, so lots of information there. I'm just going to give you a few minutes to have a look at the 4 areas that I wanted you to think about during the video, and just maybe either on your own or talking to the person next to you, just reflect for a few minutes on what you've seen and jot down anything that you learnt. Okay, let's have a look at this together then, because we only have about 20 minutes left, and I want to make sure there's time for questions and answers. Shall we just do, I'm not sure if this will work, popcorn style. Do you know what popcorn style is? When you just shout out your answers. But let's have a see. What did you learn about the approaches that the project has to the program? Okay, providing a very supportive environment. That's really important for mentoring, yes. Yes, it's about confidence building, yes. Yes, definitely. Okay, ideas were not imposed. That's right. What else? Involving stakeholders is really important, yes. Very participatory, and I can never say that word, but that was good. Yes. That's right, looking at the needs of the schools. I love that. Yeah, I think that's really good. Yeah. Yes. It was lovely what the teacher says, isn't it, about, you know, they didn't want parents to be involved at the beginning, but over time, over the 3 years of the first stage of this project, the number of parents that got involved and the two-way process and the fact that the teachers were really happy for the parents to be involved was really key success for this project. Okay, so we've sort of kind of gone over approaches and some of the successes. I don't know if it was very clear in the video, but let me just tell you the process that this mentoring program took. There were 2 phases. The first phase was for 10 weeks. And in that 10 weeks, each mentor went into their schools, I think 5 schools, and they didn't do anything. They just observed for 10 weeks. And when I was talking to Tricia, the project director, about this just before I came to Malaysia, she was saying that was, you know, that was quite difficult for some mentors because they wanted to jump in straight away. But it was really important that they just observed. And at the end of the 10 weeks, the mentors had to write a report on what they had observed. And they went back. The mentors met together, and in small groups they started to discuss what they had seen in the schools and what approaches they wanted to take. And then they started to devise some sort of key areas that they wanted to focus on. And I think that the three principles of the project, there was four. So teaching and learning, so improving teaching and learning, but then participation, relationship building, and sustainability kind of came out of the initial observations and the initial approach. So after the 10 weeks, after the reports, the mentors went back to their communities and started work. And as you saw in the video, it was very much driven by the teachers themselves. And I think one of the things that Tricia said to me was, encouraging participation from the teachers took a really long time. It didn't happen overnight. It was about building up a trust relationship. So sort of going back time and time again and not criticizing or making comments or anything, but just walking alongside the teacher as mentors, learning why they did things and how they did things. And as the video said, in the reflective activities, just encouraging the teachers to think and to be driven from what they wanted change to be. Okay, any questions? I mean, I'm sure some of the challenges will come out, and but we've got about 10 minutes left. So did you write down a key question that you wanted to ask, or is there anything else you'd like to know about the project? That, I have to say, I have no idea. This has been, the project was for 3 years initially. It was renewed this year. So all of the states have got another 2 years with the mentoring project. It's been highly successful. Obviously, language proficiency has been another area that teachers have really improved in. But I'm not sure about sort of what's happening wider than that.
This whole mentoring, process was being introduced to these two schools. The rationale about it. I know the advantages and all that's other part, but why, mentorship into these schools?
Okay, so the whole of Malaysia, all of the states were involved in this mentoring program, but the British Council was just responsible for 2 of the states, Sabah and Sarawak in East Malaysia. And in that, I think there was about 600 schools that were involved with 2,000 teachers. And the reason why the mentoring program started, as far as I understand, is that a new primary curriculum was introduced into Malaysia. And the Malaysian Ministry of Education really wanted the curriculum to be implemented well. And so to do that, they didn't just want to do traditional forms of training and development. They were very innovative in their thinking and really wanted to have this mentoring program where the mentors walked alongside the teachers as the new curriculum was implemented. This is only in primary schools because of the new primary curriculum.
Is there any evidence that the mentees are now starting to become mentors to people or other teachers within their own communities?
That's a good question, because I don't know the answer to that either, as I'm not the project director for this project. But I know that one of the things that the project has done has been to collect research over the 3 years. But I think as part of sustainability, I would hope that that is what's happening. We do have this amazing book, which I only brought one copy of because it's really heavy. But if you write to Tricia Thorby, who's the project director, or myself. We can send you copies of this. It's called The Book of Change, and it's got individual stories in, so capturing what happened and how the teachers, what their most significant change was. And this is an inspiration when you read some of the stories in here. It's really, really nice to read. I think the mentors, when they read this, see how much difference they did make. The video is online. It's on British Council Malaysia website under, I think it's under education projects and partnerships, and then it's under the ELTDP project. Yeah. The book, I don't know if it's available online or not. I'll ask when I go back. British Council Malaysia website under partnerships and programs, and it's under what we're doing in schools in Malaysia. Okay, I think we have about 5 minutes left. Anything else before we finish?
I really like the idea of 10 weeks of sort of ethnographic observation. Some of my students, and I'd include me, have difficulty with that kind of observation in that you don't always know what you're supposed to do. So I'm interested in if they had any training before that 10 weeks.
Yeah, they did. So the mentors all had like a really big orientation, and I think they got together for a week and they had input on how to go and observe. Yeah. Yep. So it's mainly by individual case studies, but there has been a lot of different strands to the evaluation, but this one has been the most significant. So sort of most significant change stories has been the main way of doing it. She's hiding.
Right, on the perspective of the ministry itself, all right, you must understand the ministry went through a major policy change in which we wanted to strengthen the use of English, and we looked at every levels, and we have a blueprint that goes across. It's a blueprint from 2013 to 2025, and in that blueprint we have 11 shifts, and one of it is to improve students' acquisition of language in the national language and English. So based on that, we came up with many projects to help at student level, teacher training at every aspect, from preschool to tertiary level. Now, when we want to roll out projects, we identify areas that we want to improve the language. And with British Council having the track record, and we have had many projects with them, so obviously when we send out for projects for tender and all that, there are lots of people who bid for it. It's very transparent, and if you can ask, Vanessa would know the process in which we obtain these external training providers. It's very comprehensive and very transparent, and we try to get the best. And I think it's also the support given. It's not just the training that they provide, but the support that goes along with the core training. So we know that we get this both ways. It's not just you train and you leave. There's always support.
Yeah. Okay, we just have a couple of minutes left, and I'm just going to read, to conclude, I'm going to just read something that one of the mentors wrote in this book of changes, because I really like this quotation, and it sort of sums up mentoring, this sort of mentoring project for me. So this was a mentor called Joshua Conrad, and he said, I wish that I could say that due to my brilliance, this teacher is amazing. The truth of the matter is that this teacher is a natural and just needed some encouragement, some fresh ideas, and someone creating an environment where she could work more collaboratively with other teachers at the school. And I think that's what mentoring is about. So thank you very much. Dr. Jayanti and myself are going to be talking about the other big teacher training project in Malaysia tomorrow at 2 o'clock. So if you want to hear the other side of the coin, the language proficiency training program, come along to that. And my other two Malaysian colleagues here, one's a trainer, one's an e-moderator, and they're going to be talking about the blended approach to training as well. So lots more from Malaysia. But thank you very much for being a very participatory audience.